This is the hello. I have one person in class today. It's a couple minutes in, and we are running a little bit late. So I'm supposed to have people jump in. If they jump in, we will just welcome them. This is November, the first class, where we go over Greek mythology, deliciousness. This is classical literature. You will not see this kind of characterization anywhere else. The gods are foolish. The gods are prideful. Um, so even the gods who are omnipotent, who are a higher authority, they're flawed. And if you anger a god, a Greek god, then you will be punished. There will be serious consequences. Okay, so what are Greek myths about? They are stories intended as warnings to Greek citizens about how their often reckless and immoral behavior can land them into trouble. These myths present characters who make costly mistakes, which often come at a high price. Why do we like Greek myths? I'll tell you, they're extreme, everybody. The characters and their mistakes are extreme. Why? Why do they make it so extreme? And by the way, I am recording this class and you have walked in late. Get going. Sit down, please. It's 5 minutes into class. Thank you. Mana, 5 minutes in, so we're just going to keep going, okay? So Greek myths, they point out on purpose our human flaws, right? Why? They don't want us to make mistakes. They want us to be able to learn from other people, to learn from stories, so we don't make those mistakes. And they are applicable today. So the story that we're going to read today, and by the way, Manav, this is being recorded. So if you want to black screen me, that's probably not great for the person who's going to watch this video. If there's any way you can turn it on, that would be great, because this is a recording. Really interesting. This story is one of the most famous Greek myths. There are different variations of it. By the way, in 2 weeks, we're going to do a Greek myth with 4 different versions. Okay, so this is my 4th day to teach this lesson, and I got, well, this is not how I know the story. This is not how I know the story. And I'm like, mythology is like fables and fairy tales. These are stories told, folk tales passed down from generation to generation. They may change, they may have deviations, they may have something just slightly different, but the gist of the story, the basic elements of the story are the same. Okay. This is a story about a teenage boy, really, who doesn't think the rules apply to him. If you look at the definition behind me on the board, and those of you who are online at home, it is at the end of your story. I think it's at the end of your story. Maybe not. No, I think it's on the board. Rules, an accepted principle stating the way things are done or should be done, what is allowed or disallowed. Why do we have rules in place? Okay, so let me ask you this. What would your school have been like today if everyone broke the rules? Chaos. Would it have been safe? No. Rules are established for uniformity, for consistency, for safety. Okay. When someone breaks the rule, does it affect other people? Yes. Okay. So the other thing here is an authority figure. I know y'all are getting to the age, and very normal for a teenager to be defiant with mom and dad. I'm so sorry, I have to step out. Are you for the 5 o'clock class or the 4:30 class? You know what? You're gonna hear everything I say anyway, just come sit. We're just gonna start the story. Come in, you're gonna hear everything anyway, so. And I'll let you stay 10 minutes after. Does that sound good? Bring your stuff in. Okay. All right. Had a late comer and I thought, well, she's just gonna hear it anyway. Might as well just join us. Right? I'm just gonna, if you can't beat the late ones, just join them, right? Just join us. Sound good? We just started, we're about 8 minutes into class. Okay. So the story here, let me just, and this is my fourth day teaching it, so bear with me. I don't even have to look at it anymore. I've kind of memorized it. We have a dad, Daedalus, who gives his son a warning, and his son doesn't listen to him. Raise your hand if mom and dad have ever told you to do something and you didn't do it. Right? Yeah. I always think of like the toddler, don't touch that stove. You know, why would they tell their child that? They want to keep them and protect them from danger, right? But we have this thing called free will. And sometimes we assert our free will and we think the rules don't apply to us.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Not quite. Not quite. I'll get there. I'll get there. So in our story today, Daedalus is a gifted innovator, inventor, entrepreneur. And he is asked by King Minos to create a labyrinth. And I had a beautiful picture of a labyrinth yesterday. Labyrinth. Here we go. See if I can pop that in. Yeah. I'll go back to my Zoom. Let me share the screen. So when I talk labyrinth, everybody, this is what I'm talking. Just incredible design, right? Hedges. I could show that to you. That's a real one. And I don't think I could explain it unless I did show it to you. Okay, let me stop sharing there for a second. So I just want to make sure I had that picture of you. So why this beautiful labyrinth? Well, King Minos, he's not a good guy, just FYI. There's a minotaur, half bull, half man, that is eating humans, and he wants to trap the minotaur in the labyrinth to keep other people safe. This is on the island of Crete. So once Daedalus is done with his job, King Minos has no more use for him. So he puts Daedalus and his son Icarus in the maze, intending for them to be bait, intending for them to be eaten by the Minotaur. In fact, King Minos had this plan. Well, first of all, I'm going to trap the Minotaur in this beautiful, right, labyrinth, beautiful, like a beautiful home. But if I have an enemy, I'm just going to put him in the labyrinth and feed him to the Minotaur. Lovely, right? Lovely. So, no surprise, right? Daedalus and his son Icarus escape. They escape the maze because he created the maze, right? But they're still stuck on the island of Crete. Okay, remember Daedalus is kind of a genius, just inventor. They can't swim, it's too far. They can't try to get safe passage on a boat because King Minos controls all the boat. They'll be caught. So they're kind of stuck there. There's plenty of food, there's plenty of fish, but you know what it feels like to be isolated at home, right? That pandemic kind of showed us. So imagine being stuck with your dad for 6 weeks on an island. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So Daedalus one day is looking up in the sky and he sees seagulls flying. And he says, aha, I'll build and construct wings for my son and myself, and we'll fly off the island. And his plan was genius. They had all the supplies. They had beeswax, they had wood, they had seagull feathers. It took him 6 weeks to build the wings. And he had his son Icarus collecting all the supplies that they needed. Meanwhile, Icarus, in this 6 week period, is becoming really unsettled. He's ready to get off the island. He says he's bored. He's frustrated, right? I think we all know that feeling from the pandemic, that isolation is not normal, right? Okay, so once the wings are built, right? They're built, they're ready to go. You're thinking, right, they're going to escape, right? Good plan. Daedalus says to his son, be careful. Don't fly too close to the sun, or the sun will melt the wax in the wings. And he warns him before they ever take off in flight. Now, why would he warn him that? Okay, let's just think for a minute. Just for a minute. How long would it take? Remember, these wings are human. How long would it take? First of all, how far is it up to the sun? Have you been in an airplane? Okay, like how high is it until you can't see below you out your window? Thousands of feet. How long would that have taken him to fly that close to the sun? Hours, right? So I want you to think about that in the story. I want you to be looking at that. Why would his dad warn him that, right? Spoiler alert. This is going to have a tragic ending. He will do exactly what he wants to do. He doesn't listen to his dad, and he flies too close to the sun. And of course, the sun melts the wax in the wings, and he falls and plummets to his death. Greek myths are very tragic sometimes. It's purposeful. Don't do what he did. Don't do what he did, right? Yeah. Here we go. Y'all ready for the story? Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read it to everybody. Does that sound good? Starts on page 4. Icarus and Daedalus. You might see a version called The Flight of Icarus. They're all different kinds of titles. On the island of Crete, there lived a minotaur, a ferocious creature that was half man and half bull. The people of the island of Crete were terrified of the minotaur. It loved nothing more than to feast on human flesh. They begged their ruler, King Minos, to order that the creature be killed, but the king decided against this. Instead, he constructed a plan to imprison the minotaur. To die at the hands of the minotaur would be one of the most terrible deaths imaginable, and King Minos believed that his enemies deserved to meet such a fate. He enlisted the help of Daedalus, a talented architect, inventor, and craftsman, and asked him to build a labyrinth, a maze of passages that would be so complex it would be virtually impossible for anyone or anything to ever find a way out. Now, can Daedalus say no to the king?
Yes.
Really? You think if the president of the United States asks your parents to do something, they can say no?
No.
No. Really wasn't a choice. I mean, if we know he's a bad guy and how threatening he is, right? Yeah. Daedalus did as King Minos requested, and then, following the king's instructions, he enticed the Minotaur into the labyrinth by leaving a huge pile of fresh meat in its center. Once the Minotaur was in the labyrinth, the creature was unable to escape. That's kind of a dangerous job, wasn't it? King Minos was delighted. Anyone who was sent to the labyrinth would be trapped, and eventually they would be found by the Minotaur, who would eat them alive. Now he had the perfect punishment for his enemies. Deciding he had no further use for Daedalus, the king threw him into the labyrinth along with his son Icarus. The king expected that the inventor and his son would be found by the Minotaur and eaten. Instead, unknown to the king, they escaped. I mean, come on, if he built the labyrinth, of course they're going to escape, right? After all, Daedalus had built the labyrinth and knew his way around. Once out of the labyrinth, Daedalus and Icarus carefully made their way to the shore of the island and pondered on what to do next. The trees and bushes surrounding the beach would provide an ideal sanctuary for the time being. They could possibly survive for months or years without being seen. But who would want to live like that, hiding away, hoping they would not be captured? They needed to find a way to leave the island. But how? They could not swim. The nearest land was too far away. They would never make it. They could not leave by ship. All vessels were controlled by King Minos. Daedalus stared up at the sky and the seagulls that circled overhead. If only he was free as a bird. If only he and his son could just fly away. And then he had an idea which was both brilliant and ambitious. He would build a pair of wings. It would take some time, days, weeks even, But he would build a pair of wings for his son and himself, exactly the same as the wings of a seagull, but on a much larger scale. Scattered around the beach were seagull feathers. Daedalus instructed his son to collect as many as he could find. He worked carefully to build the wings, studying the exact angle and shape of the seagulls and examining how the birds flew. And at last, 6 weeks after they had escaped the labyrinth, the wings were ready. Now, what's really interesting is there's no mention of Icarus, really. He's not even really relevant in the story until right now. We just know his name and that he was trapped with his dad and they got out. Okay, this is really pivotal in the story. With these wings, you will fly like a bird, Daedalus told his son, but be careful. Make sure you do not fly too close to the sun. If you do, the wax that holds the feathers together will melt. Icarus nodded quickly. Is he really listening?
Mhm.
In truth, he was barely listening. Hiding on the shore of the island of Crete had been boring. He'd spent weeks doing nothing more exciting with his days than collecting feathers and catching fish for his father and himself to eat, and now at last they had the chance to escape. Okay, he's done, right? I mean, we all recognize that. Remember when we were trapped during the pandemic? Just like, I just want out of this house, right? He shuffled impatiently as his father attached the wings to his arms, then helped his father to position his own wings. We are ready, his father told him. Follow me. And here's what's really important. I don't know if you've ever had a friend, like maybe you're on your bikes and you're like, follow me. Like, I know the way, right? Um, when you say that, you're like, I know the way. I can help us. I can get us there. Follow me. Um, Icarus had no intention of following his dad. Daedalus ran towards the ocean, sweeping his arms up and down, kind of like this, just sweeping. There was a physical movement, right? With a whoosh, he zoomed forward, rising into the air. Icarus copied his father. Suddenly, he found his feet were no longer on the ground. He was in the air. He was flying. He couldn't believe it. As he looked down at the sea at Daedalus below, his heart fluttered with excitement. He's already above his dad. He's already flown high above his dad. It was as though his body was weightless. The wind whistled against his ears. He felt like a bird. Higher and higher, faster and faster he flew. Here it comes. Suddenly, Icarus realized he could hardly see his father. Now, how much time would have had to have elapsed here? A while, a good while. He'd flown so high, his father resembled a small dot below him. At the same time, he noticed a feather drift past and float downwards towards the sea, and then another, and then another. Too late, Icarus realized his wings were melting. He had flown too close to the sun. With every desperate swoop of his arms, more feathers fell, and soon his arms were almost bare. Down and down and down went Icarus. Father, he shouted before falling into a heavy splash into the sea. Just so you know, physics-wise, he would have been traveling at such extreme speeds, he would have died on impact instantly. His few remaining feathers floated on the surface of the water as he sank. Daedalus could only watch helplessly, and his heart felt heavy as a stone as he flew onwards, leaving his son behind. Now, Daedalus had a wonderful escape plan. He constructed these wings. It should have worked, right? The plan should have worked. But the problem here was his son didn't think the rules applied to him. He didn't follow the rules and he disobeyed his father's advice. Why would he do that? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I am a mom of two adult children now. And let me tell you, the teenage years were rough. The worst part was when they started driving. Does anybody have an older sibling? It's very, very, very stressful. I want you to know my daughter is an amazing kid. She's amazing. She's 27. I'm going to tell you a true story. She was a senior in high school. She came home during a free period. She had been at school at 6 o'clock in the morning for drill team practice, had a break, had a 2-hour break, came home to take a nap. She overslept. I went and woke her up. And it was 4 o'clock. She had practice at 4 o'clock. She was already late. And I said, and she's like, oh my God. She panicked. I'm late. And I said, okay, look, you're late. Own it. Do not text and drive. Just show up to practice late. Not even 5 minutes went by. She walked in the door screaming my name, and I knew it was bad. And I said, what did you do? Didn't even make it down the block. She hit a mailbox. And I don't mean a mailbox, I mean a brick mailbox. $15,000 of damage on the car and $1,000 to replace my neighbor's mailbox because she had to text and drive. How many teenagers today do you think hear that ping of a text and know not to do it, but look anyway?
Millions, trillions.
Do your parents do that? Okay, and I understand that because it drives me crazy when my husband does it. But adults have more experience driving, right? I'm not saying it's good. It's not good. What I'm saying is for teenagers, it's reckless because they're new at driving. Can you think of any other reckless behavior a teenager might do, knowing it's not good for them, but they might do it anyway?
Do exactly what their parents told them not to do.
I need you to be more specific than that.
Well, cheat on the test.
Yeah, they do that. And the smart kids are the ones cheating at Coppell High School. It's the Indian Asian kids, biggest cheaters. And they know not to. They know it's not okay, right? Why would they do that? Why would they take drugs? Why would they vape? They know better. Your parents have taught you. You're not supposed to do that. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Biology is going to go against you. You have this brain. The prefrontal cortex of your brain is underdeveloped. And what happens with your underdeveloped prefrontal cortex when you're a teenager is you are more impulsive, you have less control, you are more reckless, and you make poor decisions. All teenagers. I guarantee you, everyone in this room, everyone, Manav, everyone listening, you are going to fail epically. Both my kids did. You're going to make mistakes. This story is really about warning you. The consequence could be high. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that teenagers don't die every day from texting and driving because they do. They do. I don't think Icarus intended to die, do you? And I don't think those teenagers who looked at that text message thought the same thing either. I think they thought what Icarus thought. Well, if I just do it this one time, I'll be okay, right? He was young, immature, and reckless. He thought he could break the rules and still enjoy what he wanted to do. He didn't think there would be repercussions. So, two messages in this story: follow the rules and listen to an authority's advice. Two warnings here. And it shows what happens when someone refuses to stay within the bounds of what are accepted rules and fail to listen to the advice of someone. Was he warned? Okay, do you think when you take the driver's test, when you get in your automobile, that your parents are going to warn you, don't text and drive?
Yes.
I literally told my daughter, do not text. Do not text. Let me tell you the good thing that's happened with my daughter because of that. She doesn't text in her car ever again. She literally has the app on her phone that turns her phone off, that lets people know this person is driving. They can answer your text. It's just not a priority for her. She's learned the hard way. Well, thankfully, she got a second chance, right? Did Icarus? He did not. Okay, so what I want you to do now, everybody, I'm going to share the screen. I want you to go to your page with the questions really quickly here. The questions, they are on they're on the back of your outline, everybody. Back of your outline. If you're at home, everybody here, grab a pen. We're going to do the answers together. Manav, you can't write on my sheet, but if you want to write the answers on a sheet of paper, you certainly can. And just spoiler, Manav, if you scroll down, the answers are there, but please don't scroll down. Why was Daedalus asked to build the labyrinth in the first place? Anybody want to take that one? By the way, I tried to trick y'all. I tried to trick you. Don't let me trick you. Okay. Why was Daedalus asked to build the labyrinth in the first place? You can just pop your hand up if you think you've got it. What is it?
D.
Nope. I told you I tried to trick you. Manav, do you want to take a shot?
A.
It is not D. It is not A. It is B. He was a gifted architect, could not say no to King Minos. Okay, it is B. Circle B. What was the diabolical plan King Minos had for the labyrinth? Okay, be careful. It's not A. And it's not B.
D.
It's D. It's basically A and B. To imprison the Minotaur and have him eat the flesh of the king's enemies. I told y'all I was trying to trick y'all. What happened when Daedalus completed the maze? Ooh, I made some good questions. Manav, you got it?
B.
No. Yes, it's C. King Minos trapped Daedalus and his son Icarus, intending they be bait. He left him for the Minotaur. Little did he know. What were all the ways Daedalus considered escaping? Yes, all the above. Swimming off the island, catching a ride on a nearby ship, flying away as if he was free as bird. How did Daedalus come up with the idea to create wings to fly off the island of Crete? They're getting easier here.
Because he saw a bird.
It is A. He noticed seagulls flying in the sky. All right, everybody say it at once. You all got this. How long did it take Daedalus to build the wings?
6 weeks.
Yes. Why did Icarus fail to listen to Daedalus's warning about flying too close to the sun?
All of the above.
All of the above. All righty, everybody go to your outline. So Manav, you can see all the answers are here. Okay, so really kind of did the lead already. Why are we talking about Greek myths? They present characters who make costly mistakes, which often come at a high price. And by the way, very relevant today. Do we break the rules? Do we fail to listen to advice?
Yes.
So just a brief summary of the story. Daedalus, y'all, he came up with a good plan, right?
Yeah.
It should have worked. There were clear signs, though, that Icarus was young and immature, which meant he failed to take seriously the warnings given by his father, and he broke the rules. Now, Manav, I don't know how you're going to do this at home, and those who are watching this, but I'm about to give you the answers. Write them down. You ready? Body paragraph. Despite being given advice and clear warnings by his father, Icarus's lack of maturity meant he failed to see what was right in front of him until it was too late. One clear sign of Icarus's juvenile behavior was his careless regard of his father's warnings about the flaw in the design of the wings. Okay, so when you transition into the quote, you want to give it context here. When was it in the story that Daedalus said, "With these wings you will fly like a bird, but be careful"? Were they already constructed at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, he had just completed construction and warned his son, comma, quote, I just gave you the transition. Your transition into the quote right here, your transition into the quote, Daedalus had just completed construction of the wings and warned his son. I sure hope you wrote that down because I just gave you the answer. Now, why did Icarus not heed his father's warning? You know what I think the answer is here to number 3? I don't think he thought anything bad was going to happen. Do you? Do you think he was also just kind of enjoying the moment?
Yeah.
Write that down. I think so. It's also, ladies and gentlemen, not uncommon for a teenager to believe the rules don't apply to them. Okay. Second example of childish responses was when Icarus wanted only to feel the pleasure of flying without acting responsibly. So what is the context of this? He shuffled impatiently as his father attached the wings to his arm, then helped his father to position his own wings. Okay, this is the moment of truth. And the father has just said, follow me. I'm going to get you out of here, son, right? What does this reveal about Icarus? He's impatient, right? He's barely listening. I think number 6 is he had no intention of following his dad. He was going to go on his flying adventure, wasn't he, y'all? And we know this pretty quickly because later in the story, his dad is below him and he just keeps going, doesn't he? And going and going and going. The third quote, final scene, indicates Icarus's own reckless actions caused his death. Y'all, and this is kind of leading into the quote. He's so high in the sky. He is so high in the sky. And this is when he realized he could hardly see his father. He'd flied so high, his father resembled a small dot. And this is the moment of truth. The feathers start dropping. Why did he realize too late he should have heeded his father's warning? You know what I think it is? 2 things here. First of all, I think he lost track of time. Why did he lose track of time? Because he was enjoying his freedom. Raise your hand if you've ever really done something you love and just lost track of time. And you're like, this is so amazing. How many of you have been on your bike and gone down a hill and you just let that hill take in? You were going fast, yes. Just enjoying that freedom. Did you put your brake on at all or did you just go? See, I'm a little cautious. I put the brake on every now and then. You just let it go, huh? Do you understand why he did that though? He's flying. All the freedom in the world, right? I really think he just enjoyed that freedom, lost track of time. When he failed to listen to his father's advice on multiple occasions and did what he wanted, this led to dire consequences. This foolish defiance of Icarus clearly presented the moral message in the myth. Listen to an elder's warning and follow the rules within the boundaries given. The story of Icarus's disastrous and deadly flight was meant to show he was foolish in believing the rules did not apply to him. It could have been, since he was young, Icarus innocently believed or foolishly thought nothing bad would happen. I just want you to know why this story is so relevant today. Any young person can be caught up in the moment like Icarus, overstep the boundaries put in place that keep them safe. Icarus was young and foolish and human and overestimated his ability to take unnecessary risks. And I hate to tell you this, but a lot of kids and teenagers do that today too. So that makes this thousands of year-old myth relevant to us. All right. Manav, you can log off. And you 2 girls are good to go. Do you need to print anything? Okay. Did everybody get, I know you came in late, did you get a calendar? You did? Okay.